Guess where I was tonight? Oh no. There's a mixed review coming your way for this Liverpool game. And it kind of comes in two parts, actually, similar to the match. So, Liverpool's problems and issues were slightly different tonight than we've seen in previous games. Weirdly, there was an improvement in some of the problems and solving them that Liverpool had, but weirdly, the issues that Joe Gomez was probably susceptible to are still there. We can talk about that more in a second.
Hey, you chin up, huh? It's not really that bad. Listen, I probably babbled on in that stadium, so I thought I'd just add something when I go back to the hotel. Yes, we're in Naples. Yes, the Napoli fans are amazing. Yes, the stadium is incredible. Yes, it's a classic place. Yes, Napoli were the better side. And did they work out how to exploit Liverpool? You're goddamn right they did. It was a strange night, but weirdly, I was sort of chipper at the end of the game because I felt like Liverpool... I said it in my post-match review in the stadium. When Liverpool get to a certain stage and they get thrashed by a team, you're going through what I can only describe as, and I don't know if I can identify the 7 stages, but there are 7 stages of Klopp. 7 stages of Klopp moving on to a next era. And people are going to keep the perception of last season. They're going to think Liverpool are the same team, the same shape, that they need to adhere to the same rules to last season. And Jurgen went from being angry to dejected this evening. Now, part of management is performativity. Part of management is getting the best out of your players however you might know how. And so seeing your manager dejected by your performance instead of angry, who knows where that goes for Jurgen Klopp. It's a completely different performance, of course, to what I think most Liverpool fans were expecting. This was the first of a Champions League tie and games and set of games that Liverpool would have thought they could do better in, because Jurgen Klopp at the end of last season, if we are holding him by his words, when told that the final this year is in Istanbul, said, book your hotel tickets now. Of course, maybe he was just giving good travel advice, but I don't actually think that was the case. It was a strange game. It was a really weird game. And being there was even weirder, because in the first half, it could have been 5-6-0 Napoli. It also probably could have been 2-2, 1-1, whatever. I think Alisson did a good job of trying to marshal that back line. I actually think people could criticise him, Virgil, but genuinely, Virgil looks so different when Joel Matip is back on the pitch. I'm going to cut back to the other post-match review now. Here.
Certain players were targeted, including Trent and Joe Gomez. And it gives everyone else the edge, because anytime that Liverpool want to try and get a foothold in the game, if you target those guys consistently, you're going to get joy from it at the moment. Part of it, I think, is tactical, because they don't seem to have the balance of midfield and defence at the moment. Part of it is confidence-based. You could tell that Joe Gomez's head was just down, didn't quite know what to do with the ball when he was getting passes come towards him. And you can kind of tell there isn't that confidence that when you saw Matip in the second half was there. Along with that, I don't think that there is enough support coming from the midfield, that back line at the moment. And there was so much more balance in the second half when Joel Matip came on. There was so much more balance to the whole team when he came on. But more controversially, Klopp obviously had some at half-time. That can't be great for people's confidence. Then there is the other player who was maybe equally as problematic. By the way, Joe Gomez did give away quite a few fouls and won the penalties. Virgil van Dijk obviously gave away one as well, but I think he was reprieved. Alisson, by the way, probably one of the men of the match for Liverpool. You kind of feel bad for him, though he did have a few moments where he came out and missed the ball. Anyway, Milner was the other guy. Started as captain this evening, and I think he's a great captain for Liverpool as a figurehead. But in that midfield, they got outran, outworked, and outthought too many times. There were too many times where, I get it, like if someone drops a shoulder on you and they go by you, you just have to jog back, get into position. There's too much. It leaves too much space for Liverpool to have to cover. It leaves too little support for someone like Joe Gomez. Joel Matip seemed so confident, and actually, when you looked at the second half, it was really only 3 people that were back: Joel Matip, Andy Robertson, and Virgil van Dijk. So it's clear that the balance in the side will come with personnel. But tactically, that meant that Klopp has to either throw his players out into the fire, or he has to find a way to cover for them, and he doesn't find ways to cover them. He basically just goes, you're going to play like this, and if we suffer, we suffer. In many ways, that shows confidence. I kind of appreciate that. The opposite side is not great. Then there's Andy Robertson going forward on that side with Luis Diaz, and I have pluses and minuses for both of them at the moment. Luis Diaz, great goal, too late, dropped the shoulder a number of times and didn't really leave Liverpool in a great position. We might have to go. Didn't really leave Liverpool in a great position when they were attacking. He drops shoulder, drops shoulder, drops shoulder. And in the end, you get to a point where you're like, mate, you haven't passed it. You're now beyond the goal, and we're not quite sure what else you need to do at this point to get the ball off. So he basically just runs into a blind alleyway. And Andy Robertson kind of did the same time. He didn't even need to drop his shoulder. He just kept running. That was incredibly frustrating. To add to that, Mo Salah is dropping wide, doing the things you probably want him to in this side, but it is leading to him feeling less engaged with the game. I'm fine with that if that's what Klopp wants. But at the moment, you've got a guy who is famous for scoring goals, not in any of those positions, and sacrificing a lot of what his positives are to his play in order for the team to do better. Doesn't fill me with confidence, doesn't make me feel great. Can we stop here for a sec? Doesn't make me feel great. But when Napoli stepped off and Liverpool got in their shape, and Napoli were trying to still counter-attack, so you could tell they were still trying something, Liverpool looked a lot better, and you could tell Napoli was sort of worried at that point that maybe Liverpool had woken up. It was just too late. It was 4-0 at that point. It's not really good enough. I mean, it's not anywhere near good enough, so that's the frustrating aspect. Liverpool shouldn't need to have a wake-up call like this in every game. And we were talking about this during the match. There are real issues with the fact that Liverpool need too many wake-up calls too often. They've had one with Aston Villa in previous seasons. Should we go? They've had one with obviously Watford in previous seasons as well, and they've had one with other teams where teams have just gone off on them, and then they've gone, oh yeah, we're playing. I'll cover Nunez in a second. The plus, I guess, is that in the second half, the shape looks so much better with Joel Matip and Thiago in the side. Melo seems to be taking a little bit of time to maybe adjust to the shape and what he needs to do, so there are a few miscommunications. I'm still unconvinced by the position that Nunez finds himself in. Some people might think I'm being a little bit harsh, but personally, I'm not 100% convinced by A, the position, B, the touch, and C, just how he's interacting with other guys. He's not holding the ball up and playing it off well enough. He's not taking up great positions that make them feel dangerous, and you can kind of tell he's trying to do quite a bit, which doesn't really help Liverpool all that much right now. What it leads to is me thinking there are things that Liverpool can improve and things that Liverpool don't really need to improve on. They kind of just need to keep going with them, and those things will come good once they have Thiago back, once they have these other guys. Harvey Elliott is a real shining light in this team. Like his movement, his thought, all these things. He's almost too quick, too eager, and too switched on for everyone else who don't quite look at the races right now. I guess the frustrating aspect is Liverpool now getting personnel back, and that's great, but you need more depth than this in order to go for a title. You need more depth than this in order to go for a Champions League. There probably isn't enough depth in this squad to go for any real silverware this season. And I kind of said it. I said we finished second. I said we probably wouldn't finish high up in the Champions League. But it is frustrating as a fan, obviously, that it's another season where Liverpool probably feel like they're rebuilding. You can sort of see where they get the confidence when they actually are rebuilding. You can sort of see where when it starts to click, they kind of go, oh yeah, right, like this is how it's meant to work. But that's not good enough. This is, this is meant to be better than this at this point in the season. And you can't wait for the games where it clicks and then in the other games not grind through. Some people are going to say we miss Mane. I'm not sure if I quite agree with that. I don't know if it would have really changed the game tonight. Maybe the approach, maybe the leadership. But I think Liverpool have to persist. I personally think they've left themselves a little short in midfield in terms of personnel, but also in terms of just shape and the people that they actually need in order to enact these different roles. I think that comes in January or it comes in June. And I think it comes in the shape of Jude Bellingham. I think Liverpool feel confident about getting him. But again, we can't write off another season. We can't have another season where Liverpool just go, by the way, sort of see like there all the Napoli fans, they were very happy tonight because Liverpool made it so easy for them. 2 penalties, that's sloppy. I also think on another day, this finishes 6-1 Napoli. I think on another day, it finishes 2-1 Napoli. You lead to a point where really post-game, Liverpool come out of this with a positive mentality, but the actual result is poor. People will be damning about that who didn't watch the full game like we just did. People will be damning about that who just watched the highlights and the goals and go, Joe Gomez wasn't good enough, or this guy wasn't good enough, or that wasn't right. Sure, it's similar to the season when Liverpool dropped off before due to injuries and due to those kind of problems. The midfield didn't have the right shape, but with Thiago coming back, there is silk in there. It brings the whole team up. There is really a difference in the shape with Joel Matip. Good penalty save from Alisson. Trent in this 4-4-2 almost as a wide midfielder, almost as a winger. And it's great to see Jota get back on. It's great to see Salah pushing in a little bit, trying to get a little bit more. And it's also just great to see when Nunez comes on that the whole team are trying to rally around him. It's exactly what they need. So I'm happy about that. Let me know what you guys thought about in the comments below, and I'll see you guys later.
Anyway, there were like a set of fans walking over to us, so I sort of stopped recording because I couldn't work out what to do at that point. And you kind of go, hi. Strange game, but weirdly, there were still things that I think, as a Liverpool fan, you probably look for. There are going to be a lot of people who watch Liverpool at the moment and go, I get it, because they've seen the highlights once and they get that Joe Gomez is a weak point, whatever, or they think that they understand what Liverpool's attacking shape is or formation, when actually I'm not even sure that Liverpool at the moment quite have nailed that, and I'm not quite sure as a fan base we know what to look for from Darwin Nunez. We're not quite sure where to support and when to go, that wasn't what we are trying to do here. Arthur Melo looked slightly off it, but he looked like he was also trying to force it. That's okay. Fantastic to have Thiago back. Fantastic to have Matip back. Matip just completely changed the whole team. The up and down of it, I think, is Liverpool are maybe showing they lack depth right now. And I get it. They're meant to have doubles in every position and you're meant to be able to cope without. And I actually think they're capable of it, but there are teams who are exploiting the weaknesses right now. And they're not getting away with it because Liverpool aren't going down the other end and building properly. This is a system team that relies on that system. So some form of responsibility needs to go to Klopp and Pep and those guys. But at this point, when you concede so many sloppy goals, you sort of go, listen guys, that's not the system. But it is the system because Joe Gomez is left exposed to this. And I get it, like there's individual mistakes within that, but Joe Gomez is left exposed because Napoli are able to get into those positions. When you see Thiago on, when you see him alongside those other midfielders and you see them gelling together, you just see how much more protected that back line is. Liverpool looked so nervous in the first half when there were balls over the top. When Matip was on, it was very different. And I get it, like it looks dangerous when a team's counter-attacking, but there is a difference with that back two. So I don't think it's all about damning Klopp and throwing the baby out of the bathwater. I do think it is about having a realistic evaluation of what Liverpool have and probably adjusting expectations around that. Though at the start of the season, the expectations were probably second or third, maybe more solidly than we'd expect right now, and a decent Champions League run. This was the game, or this you would hope, is one of the wake-up games, if not the wake-up game for Liverpool. Maybe some people in the comments are going to go, you're not being realistic. You're looking too happy. You're too chipper. Klopp looks down. I've got this image of Klopp. I'm just saying what I see. And I don't care if it reflects what a lot of other people are tweeting or what I saw some guy called Varun from, I don't know, was saying at one point. He was like, I think I speak for all Liverpool fans when I say Klopp out, and FSG out. Klopp is well short. Yeah, I do think he's been under-equipped in the summer. I don't think panicking going for Arthur Melo is good. But you go through the 7 stages of Klopp during the transition. You must endure. You've had a good time. Don't sit around and go, it's suddenly terrible. I just hate when fan bases do that, man. It wasn't good. It wasn't a good performance. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you just damn everything about the performance and just move on from it. Analyze it. Look at it. They've lost by huge margins before. 2 worse teams than Napoli. Just finish on this. Naples has got such a good atmosphere. The stadium is exactly as I love it. This city's amazing. Like, look at this. Look at this.
right? I'll finish on this. Uh-oh. Oh, my beer ran over. I'll finish on this. Look. And you can't actually... Oh, you can. Look at that. Maybe I'm just in a good mood because I got to travel. But maybe, just maybe, it's not quite as bad as everyone's painting it. Let me know in the comments below. We'll see you guys in a little while. Bye.
Oh, I also get that it could go worse than this, because it does get worse than this under Klopp. And when you go through the 7 stages of the transition, sometimes it can get worse before it gets better. Thiago's good though, isn't he? Maybe we'll look back on this time and we'll go, you didn't take that dip seriously enough. You bloody right I didn't. Like, we've had a great time under Klopp so far. You've got to show some faith at some point, right? Some point? No, let's just overreact on Twitter, that's better. And let's read the titles. By the way, I don't do the titles of the videos. Someone else does that. So, thanks for clicking. If you're not already subscribed, do it. I'll see you guys later, bye.